Welcome back to the List Building Lifestyle. I'm your host, Igor Kheifets, and today I'm hosting Marisa Murgatroyd. Marisa started her career as an artist who was told her father that she had no marketable skills. She figured out how to build a multi-million-dollar business anyway, and has shown over 12,500 students how to succeed online, many of whom also felt like they had no marketable skills. As the founder of Live Your Message and creator of the Experience Product Masterclass, she's on a mission to reinvent online education around the world so results and engagement become the norm and not the exception. Marisa has personally sold over $40 million in online courses and programs that have student success rates 10 to 30 times higher than the industry standard. She does this by creating what she calls the experience products instead of more traditional online courses and information-based products. An experience product is an entirely new framework for creating online courses that combine the most powerful elements of gamification, behavioral design, adult learning psychology, and innovative curriculum design to create an engaging experience that works with the brain's natural chemistry of motivation to get people hooked on taking action and getting results. Or, as she likes to say, I get people so excited about changing their lives that they stop dreaming and start doing. She lives in Austin, Texas with her husband and business partner, Murray, who keeps her laughing all day long with his Australian sense of humor, and they affectionately call each other Monkey. All right. So why Monkey? Why not Teddy Bear or you know?
Monkeys are smart and mischievous. And I got to say, I've got this little Easter egg that I do in all my interviews by trying to get the guest to say the word monkey. The host.
I win. I was like probably the fastest to say it. Well, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it. Obviously, I've seen you, go around the industry and raise awareness for gamification. And, I've been a big student of gamification myself simply because I'm a gamer before I was an information marketer. So I was looking forward to this episode.
Excellent. Well, it's something that I love talking about because there's so much power to just up-level what you're already doing and get people hooked in a good way on not just buying from you, but actually following through and completing whatever it is that you sold them. And then that leads to this incredible upward spiral of more sales and referrals and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to dive into some of the key concepts that you found to be most effective when it comes to gamification, because we've been experimenting with all sorts of stuff, and I can't say that every aspect we tried worked, and a lot of it has been hit and miss. But some of it is just people just go nuts over it. So I'm really curious to pick your brain about having consulted and worked with so many course creators. What are you seeing that's working in getting people as addicted to courses as they are to their phones, video games, casinos, and more?
100%. Well, I actually developed this methodology called the experience formula, which are 10 core experiences that you want to add to your course, even to your marketing campaigns to get more consumption in your marketing while avoiding what most people do when it comes to selling courses and information. And I wanted to say that gamification is a piece of it, but it's not the only piece. So for example, if you just stick points on top of something or leaderboards on top of something, but the points and leaderboards aren't particularly meaningful to people, it's not super helpful. And it's why the very first core experience here that I recommend is what I call mission. And mission is having a photo finish to your course or program, a really clear win state. Because if people don't know what winning looks like, it doesn't matter how many points they get when they achieve, forward progress, they don't care about them. So you have to make that win state super compelling, which of course skyrockets sales and it's really good marketing, right? And once they understand what they're buying, and this win state is so clear and specific that you could photograph someone crossing the finish line. That's what you're looking for. You want that clear mental picture and so much specificity that people know without a shadow of a doubt that they've won. Once you've got that, you've actually got a program that can be gamified. Make sense? If you've got this vague, fuzzy outcome or you're trying to do 10 things, then adding points to it's not super duper helpful because they don't know what winning looks like. And so the points aren't motivating. So that's one of the reasons I think that gamification is hit or miss for a lot of people. As they're just trying to drop it on top of something that isn't designed and structured in a way that's motivational. And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to creating courses is they try to structure and design a course logically. Like, here's the first step, here's the second step, here's the third step, and so on. But that oftentimes leads with starting with a whole module just talking about why this thing is important, or giving context or background information, where you're training people to watch and listen versus be an active participant. So one of the things that I recommend doing is structuring your programs motivationally. So if you actually look at the best games, the first level is super duper easy, where the first level is almost training you how to do a course, but in an actionable way, right? Because if the first level of a game defeated you, it'd be the world's worst game, wouldn't it? Instead, the first level is easy. You kind of smash the first level and you're like, I'm just naturally talented. I'm brilliant. I'm the bomb. I'm going to keep going, right? And so the games kind of trick you into thinking that you're actually good, right? And so the course needs to be structured motivationally. So here's the thing, and I think I don't think I have a printout of that, but if you understand some of the flow research, like from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, you get into this flow channel when your level of skill matches the level of challenge. So if you want to get people into that channel where they get in the zone and they're taking more and more action and they find themselves doing things they would have thought impossible just a little bit before, you've got to actually start them off with small, simple wins, a lower level of challenge, things that anyone could do that then kind of escalate into bigger wins and bigger actions. So you want to structure your program motivationally. And even understanding, how do you create that very first win? Like, what does that look like? And how can that win reinforce the promise of the program as a whole? So an example is a student of mine who was building a course on how to get your music listed on television shows, right? And so there's a bunch of musicians coming in taking his course. And what do you think is the first thing he had them do? If you're designing a course logically, the first thing that he had them do,
decide on a song you want to get listed?
No, it was actually go to all these music websites and apply to become eligible to submit your music. And it makes sense. It makes sense from this logical flow. You need to be eligible before you can begin the process. But he's asking musicians to go do a bunch of legal paperwork and sign a bunch of forms, which just meant that a lot of them were bailing out of the course as soon as they signed up, because who wants to do that first? So I had him restructure the course. And now
Wait, you mean people aren't excited about bureaucracy?
No, they're not excited
No?
about bureaucracy. Yeah. So instead, it was like, okay, let's do the first training about the Dream 50. And that is the 50 TV shows that if you were to get on even one of these shows, it would make your entire investment worthwhile, your investment of time, your investment of energy, your investment of money. And then you want to make this so freaking foolproof by actually compiling a list of all the shows that accept submissions from amateur musicians that aren't represented by a major label, right? And then sorted by genre. And what this does is now, not only do you collect wins at the end of doing the training, it's like every single TV show that you put on this list is like a little micro reward. Makes sense? Because you imagine yourself for a moment being on that show as you write that show on the list. So that very first session is reinforcing 50 times the promise and the finish line of the course. So it takes on even more meaning and adds dimension and texture and context, because now you have a mental picture of what that win looks like. So we completely skyrocketed the number of people consuming the course just by shifting that very first session, right?
This is really interesting because I think at some point we've done kind of a similar transition where you took a course that was selling well, but the implementation wasn't there. And we, I think by accident, redesigned it into what made it into our most consumed and most implementable program. And we basically took and broke it down into like a 30-day or a 30-step process where the first step was just very simple, just buying a domain, and the step is so simple that everyone does it. And they're like, oh, look, it's real now. I have a website,
I know. And it's painful as like a program creator to make something so simple at first. But it's really interesting. I give this example of Dance Dance Revolution. And Dance Dance Revolution has sold like 10 million units or something in arcades around the world. And they get kids like dancing so fast you wouldn't believe it. But it starts with, the very first training is one step to the left, one step to the right, one step to the left, one step to the right. So all the people who can't dance, they can do it. And I'm doing this online challenge right now to crack your course idea. The very first day, 10-minute video. All they need to do is choose their approach, whether it's passion, problem, proficiency, or proprietary solution. That's it. It's so freaking easy. And then they feel like they've made progress. And it's really one of 4 choices. And then you can't even get the choice wrong because all of them lead to viable choices. So it's like making it so easy that people are like, oh, wow, this is easier than I thought it would be. And it activates so many psychological principles, the principle of consistency, right? So people are more likely to take action once they've identified themselves as someone who's taking action. And when you keep building that up, then when they hit the kind of point where it's challenging, where the friction really comes, they have enough momentum to kind of carry them through that particular point in the process. But there are going to get to be hard bits. But if you can really start kind of boosting their confidence as they go and their sense of their skill set, then that's kind of the motivational structure of a program that really helps get people across the finish line. And then when you add things like wins and you add peak emotional experiences and animations and celebrations and feedback loops and, messages like text messages and customized emails and customized voicemails based on what they're doing or not doing, then it's like the amplification of all that. Make sense?
Yeah. Tell us more about the customizable emails, text messages, and voicemails.
Yeah, so this is actually something that we have built into our membership site platform, Experientify. And we launched this a few years ago just because I built it for myself at first, because I was coming up with this methodology and none of the membership sites actually could do what I wanted to do. And then all my students were like, hey, I want a membership site like this. And since we built it, a lot of industry leaders, people like Jay Shetty and even Vimeo has all their courses on Experientify right now, and Dan Balzerian, and all these people are coming on because it really, really works. So
wait, Dan Balzerian has a course?
Yes.
Isn't he supposed to be playing poker on a helicopter that's sitting on top of a yacht with a bunch of
pretty much, and the course is reflective of that.
Oh, really? Okay.
All right. So if you want to learn how to get lots of women, it's a good course for you.
So it's like a dating product, or?
Well, it includes just getting what you want, I think. I only saw like a couple minutes of it, but whether you want women, whatever you want, it's really helping you get what you want.
You know what I want? Like, between you and me, I'd really love a beard like that.
Oh, yeah?
I can't grow a beard to save my life. Like, what you're seeing now is like 2 months.
But honestly, like a well-kept beard, I think, is a lot sexier than the full-on lumbersexual beard, personally. But right? I did tell my husband, who's a technologist, that you are my current husband, but I'm going to need a different apocalypse husband, If we ever go to the apocalypse, I'm going to get rid of my tech geek husband. I'm going to get one of those lumbersexuals.
Lumbersexuals. All right, Marisa, look, the reason I called you here is because we want your best stuff. Give us some of your advanced techniques. Give us some of your, almost what really hooks them in. Like, how to use it. The sounds, the smells, the images, the confetti exploding once they've completed a video. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, 100%. Well, like I said, it's the combination of the structure with the kind of bells and whistles on top of it, where we do points. We also have all these animations and win states. So you can actually pull in custom animations from, say, like just royalty-free animations. And you can create all these custom win screens that will just take over your computer. And so when people complete actions, even when they get into the course for the first time, you can have a customized celebration. It'd be like, welcome to the Experience Product Masterclass, Igor, and just some really cool, animation screen. And so right then and there, people get that little burst of dopamine. But what it's all about, at the end of the day, is having someone feel like they're winning every step of the way. This is the principle that I call constant wins. And constant wins is about rewarding absolutely everything. Because 80% of the population is extrinsically motivated, meaning they're motivated by external reward. And even if that's not you, because a lot of entrepreneurs are more intrinsically motivated. So entrepreneurs can oftentimes like overcome massive challenges and get things done. But the vast majority of people—
I thought it's just because we're just fucked up. I didn't consider that it was about intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
I thought we
So
were all just messed up in the head.
well, have you seen like the delayed gratification studies where
About
you look at
kids.
kids and you give them cookies and most of the kids just eat the cookie right away. But then the kids who've got delayed gratification wait and they know that the cookie, gains value as you wait because then all the kids want that cookie. So now most people don't have that delayed gratification, which is the ability to invest time and energy now for a reward that you can't guarantee and you can't 100% see, but a lot of entrepreneurs do. So you have to create this motivation for people, by having all this external validation and reward. And the really kind of ninja thing is you can put rewards on anything. So you can put rewards onto, say, housekeeping actions, like add this one-click calendar to your schedule. Give us your text, your phone number so we can send you text messages. All of the different things, whitelist our email address. You can actually add points to all of the things that you would normally struggle to get people to do and get
Wait,
them.
how would you do it if it's a thing you don't control? Like, for example, whitelist my email, right?
Yeah,
How do you, like, you don't know if they did it. Like, how would
you
you know?
don't. The thing is though, the vast majority of people don't try to cheat their own education. And I don't build systems for the 1% of people who do cheat. I build systems for the 99% of people who actually value the transformation and want to do the work. You're always going to have some people who try to like game the system. So what if they really want to game the system? Let them game the system. I don't care. I'm focused on the people who want a result. And, all the time people are like, oh, what about people ripping off your courses and things like that on the internet? I'm like, well, go ahead and try, because this gamification and all the stuff that we do to add value to the course means that whatever kind of ripped off content people are selling under my name on the internet, which is a lot of people, by the way, it doesn't come
Tell me
close.
about it. These guys are actually taking the content of the program, putting it on a website, sometimes free, sometimes like $7, $27, sometimes on eBay, sometimes. I mean, I'm just shocked.
Yeah.
The
So
nerve.
but if you do some of this stuff, then it's only like a fraction of the value, because the value is not in the content. It's not in the information. It's in the transformation. So if someone's just extracting videos and your course has so many more value adds on top of that, they're not going to be able to really replicate the experience, right? So what I was saying about, I had another point. I'm trying to remember back to it about, you want to be able to put points on absolutely everything. But the really cool thing is that a point system actually gives you intel into what people are doing or not doing. So we're able to implement, for example, what I call an Operation Unengaged Student Rescue campaign, where we go full court press and email and message people if they say haven't logged on for 2 weeks. And we were able to do this with one student, Jennifer Halbus, and she actually jumped back in after she was starting to fall out because of it. And then she made like 100 grand in the course and 150,000 right after. So she went from zero to $250,000 because of our Operation Unengaged Student Rescue campaign. Then she ultimately ended up spending $60,000 with Live Your Message, with my company, because of this campaign. So if you're looking at lifetime customer value, I've been able to 10x my lifetime customer value. So if lead costs, for example, are skyrocketing, doing this kind of stuff really, really helps. So the other thing that you can do is you can wrap a rock solid ironclad guarantee around your mission statement. So if you've got a mission statement that's so clear it's almost binary, you can actually guarantee the result. So my mission in my signature course is to design, launch, and profit from an experience product in 12 weeks or less. Now, if people complete milestones on time and they show up for their group coaching calls, not all of them, like something like 80% of them, they ask a couple questions, they're eligible for the guarantee. And the guarantee is that they'll earn their investment back during the 12 weeks of the program. If they don't, we'll make up the difference. Now, because we have the structure in place, we're actually able to track if people are doing the work, right? And they have to submit it. And that allows us to create this incredible guarantee process. Now, the other thing that it allows us to do is have a graduation and mission accomplished states that we can then reward. All right. So what that means is that when someone completes the program and we can see whether they've completed or not, then we're able to give them some kind of incentive. And because of that, for that one course, I have 2,000 2,435 testimonials. I don't know anyone in the industry who has 2,435 testimonials for something like under 6,000 students. So 41% of my students actually go out there, review my course, and give it a testimonial, which creates this wall of proof for other people coming in. So that's
We
another really
also
ninja
gamify
thing.
that.
Yeah, so we gamify the testimonial collection process. So I don't have to go out there and ask people, they automatically submit it. I create that wall of proof and that wall of testimonials. And it's really, really powerful stuff. You can even incentivize the mission accomplished state with, say, like money that people have to use within 30 days into your next program, right? So there's so many different things you can do, which will then skyrocket your lifetime customer value as well. I mean, those are just a couple of the things. There's so many things that you can build into the program that make it incredibly powerful, and you can keep people in your world for years. I mean, I have a student now who's been with us, I think, 7 years, and she's invested well over $100,000 and referred about $70,000 worth of business. So when I add it both together, she's responsible for over $198,000 into our company because we do this stuff, right? So I think that it's interesting. People are trying to get slightly higher, whatever cost per leads, but then they don't care at all about the back end. I'm like, you're spending so much money on the front end. If you're not optimizing the back end with this stuff, you're kind of pissing it away or missing out on the real opportunity and the real pots of gold. Not to mention, we're in a time where reputation really matters. So if you're not optimizing for the customer experience, you're probably going to have all this, like if people search your name on Google, they're probably going to come up with a lot of complaints and things like that. And it doesn't mean if you have thousands and thousands of students, you're still going to get people who complain. It's just the nature of the beast, but you'll get a lot more people who are raving about you.
Yeah. I went through this really painful experience many, many moons ago where I brought in a client into a coaching program. I felt like I was bending over backwards for them, gave them a huge discount, did a lot more for them than I promised to do. Then they turn around, they post some nasty stuff about me online, and they put it on a website that somehow ended up getting published on the first page, on the top of the first page, nonetheless. And so what we've done then, I went to all my good students and I said, hey guys, like this dickhead, posted blah, blah, blah. And I was like, can you just go and post your experience on the same page? So the page basically had one bad guy or one bad review and like an 18 really good ones. And from that point forward, anytime I'd get on the phone with a student and they would be telling me, be like, so how did you find me? Or, why did you decide to work with me? And they'd be saying things like, Igor, started looking into you and I Googled you and I found this website. This guy was complaining about you. But then I started reading all the positive testimonials and I was blown away. I said, you know what? If there's people willing to go and fight for him, and protect him online, he must be legit. So that ended up becoming like almost like a calling card for a while until the site got removed, which I'm not sure exactly why it got removed, but it just disappeared.
Nice. 100%. And I think what I've learned too is not to give any people discounts or special treatment or, special payment plans, because it always comes back. And then they feel like it always comes back and bites you later on. Like anytime people are like, can you extend the deadline? Can you do this? Can I have 8 payments instead of 6? Every single time we've done that for someone, they become the biggest pain in the butt. And I wish it weren't the case, because we used to try to do things like that a lot more often. But now we've just become non-negotiable with these things because we find that we bend one thing, then they want everything bent for them. And it just sets the relationship up on the wrong foot. And
I grew up in Israel, and in Israel there's a saying, you give them a finger, they bite off the hand. It sounds kind of like that.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I've learned this kind of reminds me of back to mission. The other really cool thing is that when you have this incredible mission statement, you can use it to hold a rock solid container for your program. So you know how all of a sudden people ask you a million other things that aren't even related to what your course is about. You get on a coaching call and they're trying to want this, and then they want this, and they want this.
It's funny you say that, because for the most part, what people ask of me is my personal stuff. Like I'll mention something about wanting to move countries or talk about my kids or whatever. And they'll like really go deep into that on a coaching call for which they paid to like learn. And I feel like bad, be like, guys, I mean, it's your time, but they want to know the personal stuff.
100%. Well, what I was saying is that sometimes people, for example, if I'm in a course about course creation, they want to know, should I incorporate my business and all this other stuff that's
Right.
not really related to design, launch, and profit from an experienced product in 12 weeks or less. So now and we have 20 coaches who support this program. So every student has their own coach. We've taught all of our coaches to say, that's beyond the scope of our mission here together. All right. We cover that in our, year-long momentum program, but I want to really focus, with a single mind on getting you across the finish line to mission accomplished. So let's just focus on what you need to launch your course, make some money, no more, no less. And people really respect that. And you're able to, instead of everyone's like squirrel, 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 and then the container kind of starts to dissolve a little bit. You're really holding people to this one singular goal of getting the mission accomplished. And that's really powerful because they become almost obsessed with it, almost so much so that you have to normalize them not completing later on. We see sometimes up to 51% of our students completing, but then the other 49 feel really bad because we've mobilized them so much. We've got them to care about it so much. So then I have to normalize on the other side. You know what? You went for it, right? Or something came up along the way, it's okay. If you've already won, you've made so much progress. So I have to normalize it on the other side because 51% is way beyond what anybody else sees. Like the average is 3%. So 51% is like a 17x improvement. You know what I'm saying? But, people will still feel bad because you've actually made it that important by reinforcing it over and over and over again,
I know. Look, I'm pretty sure we can't do justice to all your techniques and secrets in this interview, but I do know that you're working on something special that's about to come out. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, 100%. Well, once a year, I do this 7-day online course creators workshop series. And if you're watching this, it's live right now. And I'd love to send you into the first part of the series. And I'll just send you to a PDF. And on the back of the PDF, you'll get invited to the actual workshops. And it's called the dopamine button. So these are 3 brain hacks that you can use to pretty much instantly skyrocket course engagement and sales. So if you go to liveyourmessage.com/Igor, liveyourmessage.com/Igor, IGOR, you can go ahead and grab that. And if the workshop series is already over because you're watching this later on, there's still going to be something cool for you there. I'll still give you a copy of the PDF guide. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan to me, Cap. So there you go. Liveyourmessage.com/Igor to get your dopamine report and invitation to a 7-day course creator workshop. So if you want to create a course, if you're already a course creator, if you're not sure what your course is going to be about, if you want to inject some dopamine into your process, then check it out because she's the best in the biz for that. Well, Marisa, before I let you go,
I forgot to say it's completely free too. The 7-day online course creator
goes without saying it's completely free. One more question before I let you go. If you could go back in time and meet yourself 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself?
If I were to go back in time and meet myself 10 years ago, I actually started this business 12 years ago. So I think we got to go back 20 years maybe.
Let's do 20. I can't tell how old you are, so let's do 20.
I'm 45, so, but I'm Asian and Asians don't raisin. So as they say, right? So if I were to go back 20 years ago, I remember I was actually working in a nonprofit. Actually, 20 years ago, I was early in my career. And I remember, this is so ironic because of what I do today. My boss wanted to bring in some funds to the nonprofit. So she came up with the idea of me consulting with clients to other nonprofits to help them create an email newsletter. And I remember being like, who in the world would sign up for an email newsletter, right? And what would you even say? Like, what would you write to them? It's ironic because I've sent millions and millions and millions of email newsletters since then. But she wanted to charge $50 for my time. And I was like, who in the world is going to pay me $50? Because this whole skill set, I know, $50 an hour. This skill set, my creative skill set, at the time, I was using it in the nonprofit world and I was using it as an independent filmmaker. So I was using it in ways that weren't recognized and weren't paying me a lot of money. And I didn't realize that the very same skill set in the context of like a business and marketing was like $1 million skill set. So what I now know is that a lot of times the skills that every single person has $1 million skill set inside of them. And you just need to cultivate the other skill set you need to turn your $1 million skill set into an actual $1 million, which is some of the foundation of business and marketing. And when you do, you're capable of so much more than you ever imagined. So to that girl who didn't feel like she could charge even $50 an hour, I want her to know that I now charge $5,000 an hour. And I want her to know that the skills she spent a lifetime developing, that her brother and her father told her had no marketable value, actually are hugely valuable.
It's so inspiring. Let's wrap it up on this amazing note. So guys, listen, if you're watching this and you think you're worthless or not worth a lot, or your skill isn't important, remember the words of Marisa that go something like this: your skill is worth $1 million. So this is the List Building Lifestyle. Marisa, thank you so much for spending this time with me. Guys, if you want to get your dopamine report and invitation to the 7-day creator workshop, please go to liveyourmessage.com/Igor and go there as fast as you hear this message, because you might be late for the workshop. But even if you are, you're still going to get a free report. This is about it. Thank you so much for talking us through gamification. We can tell you really live your message for sure. And until next time we chat, have a good one.